Good morning everybody, how are you all today? Finally there's a bit of a break in the weather so I can show you the garden at the beginning of June. Yeah, it's looking, well, it's looking like it's supposed to be looking, and it's starting to come to life. We've had the weirdest weather. Really hot last week, so I wasn't down much. 2 days of lashing rain and wind. The rain, brilliant for the soil. The wind, not so great. But it does mean all the little annual weeds are springing up everywhere. So, please ignore them. I really haven't had time to weed, and I have to prioritise planting. So ignore all the weeds, but let's go and have a look what's up to, or what's happening in the garden. It's so bright already. It's lovely early in the morning. I hope you guys are going to be able to hear okay, because that wind is still being a bit naughty. But I'm just bringing you guys down to the end of the garden so we can start at the top, like we always do. Let me get you guys into position. And we're going to have probably my shadow for company the whole morning. And I can't see a thing in the screen, but I just want to show you first of all, I think the end of this lily got strimmed, not by me, I hasten to add, so I've given it a bit of a splint. I don't know whether it's going to survive, I hope so, because look at all the buds that are coming. I think this is the most buds I've ever had on it. Yay! So this beautiful thing normally puts its show on about 2 weeks after my birthday, so about mid-July. Can't wait. Everything's starting to fill out now. The little verbenas are, this I overwintered. I just cut it back and now it's sprouting and it's about to flower again. Beautiful. So that's the parsnip bed. Yes, we're going to have my shadow for company all morning. Actually really fab germination this year. There was just a little gap down here wherever we sowed, but otherwise great germination and masses of calendula. Yeah, I think I was a little bit heavy-handed. So what I'll do is I'll thin those out, but I will try and transplant the thinnings to elsewhere in the garden. This little front bit of the allotment now is filling up with the flowers. They don't look much at the moment. Cosmos, stock, Nicotiana, what else is in there? Cornflowers, but they will bush up and be gorgeous. The lovely chickpeas, the gorgeous chickpeas. So again, where there was intermittent germination, I've sown again. Unfortunately, those ones that I resowed, they're now starting to poke their little heads up too. It's just so lovely at this time of year when the pot turns green again. I love it. And then this, if you remember, this is the row of quinoa, and you can see, let me get a bit closer. Oops, shadow again. You can see how very similar it is to fat hen. The difference was when it was coming up, it had a slightly redder tinge to its stem. So I was able to weed out the fat hen and let the quinoa have a bit of space. The potatoes are all really happy and healthy, apart from this little gap here. I think that was frost damage. Never mind. Again, in the troughs between the potatoes, there's calendula in this one, and a few nasturtiums because they come up everywhere. And then in this one, get out of the way, Vivi. There is, actually, let me see if coming this side will help. This is where I sowed the quinoa. Now, as you can see, I haven't weeded it. That's because in with all the quinoa is a load of fat hen. Now, the fat hen will only get to about 1 foot tall, but I will start harvesting it before it gets to that. The quinoa should get to about 5 foot tall, so there will be a difference. As I say, I will start harvesting the fat hen before too long, and I use it much as you might use spinach in your morning smoothie. So it's got a good chunk of iron and vitamin C in it, so I shall be enjoying it with my berries in the smoothie. Just going to see if I can pick one out for you guys. So let's see. Actually, that in the centre is a quinoa, and all around it is fat hen. And now you see how similar they are. Yay, can't wait to start eating. Oh my goodness, I love it. It's really, really, really that time of year when you start to see just how much food hopefully you're going to have. So the celery are in. They're looking perfectly happy. Next door to the celeriac. And actually these little guys are looking pretty healthy too. Good robust colour. And amazingly, I lost one over in the back there, but I think it was dug out by a fox. And I think amazingly, I don't want to curse myself, but it looks like the slugs have left them all alone. Just so I don't get too confused, I've demarcated the celery and celeriac with a couple of little spare flowers. So there's a couple of cornflowers and I think some stock in there. Oh, it's going to look so pretty come the summer. Here are the beans all popping their lovely heads up. I sowed them fairly thickly because I had masses of seed. This is the Rockin' Core that I grew for the first time last year, and it's a dwarf French which comes out as quite a yellow. It's a very waxy bean, and at first I wasn't sure when it was growing, but then when I ate the first one, oh my goodness, as I said, it's quite a waxy bean and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous in salads. So there, I'm happy to see those all up. Slightly poorer germination here with the edamame. They are coming, so they're, oh look, they're coming with all the weeds too. Nasturtiums and fat hen everywhere. Oh wow, it's fine, isn't it? Like I say, at this time of year I have to prioritise my planting over weeding. So there's the bed of flint corn. That's all getting away quite nicely now. I understand, as I say, I have not grown it before, so I've sort of taken advice from other folk, and I understand it's quite a heavy feeder, and its preferred feed is nitrogen. And we all know what I like to use for nitrogen feed, so I shall start to give those probably a once a week feed with my own special brew that's got a nice amount of nitrogen in it. Now the onions, both the red and the white, about a week ago they were looking really rather sad, with a lot of curly crumpled over leaves, which I've not experienced before. Chatting about it with my friend Gary, and we were speculating as to whether it's allium leaf miner, which we have started to have on this site in the last 3 years, but never in our onions, only in our leeks. But he reckoned he had it last year, he left it alone and the onions recovered. I don't know how, but when I was on the cusp of pulling the whole lot of them out, he did say to me, why don't you just leave them, give them a go and see if they recover. And it looks like actually after all this rain and sunshine that they have. So in here, lovely carrots are getting away now. The leeks are starting to fatten up. This bed really does need a good weed, but because it's direct sown with all the carrots, what I normally do is just leave it a few weeks until the carrots really start coming up, so that I can see where they are and not yank a weed right next to them and disturb their root. So yeah, that'll get a weed when I've got some free time. And I must remember, must remember, can you see in the top there? I've got a hole in my net. I have to remember to bring my needle and thread down next time. Okay, not much change here on this end, but bear with me, because the vine bed is finally starting to fill up. These are the peppers and cucumbers I planted, just a couple of days ago actually. I was having a bit of a panic attack for them yesterday because of these gusting 50-mile-an-hour winds. So I dashed down here, got more sort of stakes and ties in for both the peppers and the tomatoes over there in the background, which we'll have a look at in a sec, and they seem to have survived. And this is the structure I was telling you about, how I've actually made it quite a bit, you'll see from the bottom, from the angle, I've made it actually quite a bit steeper this year. But I figure if cucumbers can climb straight up into my rose bush as they did last year, they should be able to get up this okay. We'll see. It's an experiment. I made it that much steeper in order to create that little bit of space in front for the peppers. We'll see. Oh, here comes the wind again. Brr. So, tomatoes. I'm just going to come around here actually. They've been in for 10 days now, and you can see how they're sort of greening up again. They're considerably sort of darker green than they were when they were hardening off in the cold frame. They were spindly little things. They still look like really spindly little things, but I can see every day that they're getting stronger and bigger, and oh, it's so exciting. They've had a mulch with all the grass clippings from our communal mowing the other day. I spent 2 hours mowing all the paths around the whole site. Now, these tomatoes do need a bit of care, so I've earmarked in a couple of days' time I'm going to come down and do tomato cares. So I'll show you guys then what I'm up to with them. But I'm delighted that, again, this lot managed to survive those winds yesterday. Well done, Toms. Now, over here, we've got some change. Red cabbages. They seem to be happy, although not really heartening up yet, but never mind if I don't get hearts. I'll eat the leaves anyway. I've actually had a couple of leaves already. Yum. Had them in a pie. Gorgeous. So now, if you remember, this is where my broad beans were. The last of them came out just a few days ago. All the roots were left in and given a bit of a dig in, and this will now become the bed for the coco de pampol, of which I have many more this year than I had last. I'll show you those in a sec because they're in the cold frame. And then, actually, I'm going to bring you around this way just because of wind and shadows. So this little bed, I sowed fennel. There's a few coming up, which is great. But then I sowed a couple more rows, and someone who will remain nameless came and stood his great big size 10s in the bed. So I don't know if they'll survive. If they don't, I'll just use this for, probably just something like spinach and saladings over the summer. Yeah, I'll just keep whacking a few rows of spinach in. Excuse me. Beans, glorious beans. Look, happy beans are climbing. So, if you remember, about a month ago, I sowed all my different varieties of beans direct, plus I did backup sowings in the cold frame, and I'm so glad I did, because for all the different varieties, gosh, in each row I was maybe getting 4 or 5 of the direct sowings germinating. But you can see already, look, the gigantes are up to here. Gigantes by name and gigantes by climbing. I cannot wait to see all this lot of beans getting going. So we've got Borlotti, gigantes, the pea beans, then good old Helder and Necker, and then the runner beans from the Duchy of Cornwall estate that my mum gave me as a stocking filler. There were a couple of gaps which I had extra gigantes, so every now and again you'll see a gigante in the row. The other really exciting thing is, let's get ready for your close-up. The squash is starting to go in. This is just sort of a random bit of support that I put in yesterday because they were being flapped around in the wind like crazy. So I've got one here, and let's take you guys, one there of the Long Island cheese. Michelle, I'm so excited, thank you. And in that row beyond, I've got a couple of the Rouge Vif de Tombe. So obviously I've got a lot more squash to go in, and it's supposed to be going here. And you lot are probably as sick of the sight of this wood as I am, but it's going to start happening this week. I'll show you in a sec. Lastly, oh sorry, I'm spinning around far too fast. There's tomorrow's pot. Peas are coming up lovely now. You can see obviously the difference between in the successional sowing. So I'll have some to harvest, hopefully in about 3 or 4 weeks. And then these little bitty babies, they'll be a couple of months away. So yum, 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 yum. Okay, so if you remember, over there where I've put the peppers and cucumbers, I had my overwintered celery, which were a godsend when I ran out of onions. So I was using celery for flavouring in soups instead of onions. I really needed to get that row of peppers and cukes in, so I had to take the celery out. But they were just starting to come into seed, and I thought, I really want my own seed. So what I did, a few more flowers, this is starting to fill out. What I did was I transplanted one of the celery plants as best I could, took a great chunk of soil with it, and look at all the flowers. So basically this is going to be under the A-frame, so it's not going to be in the way of the squash I'm going to plant here. And it looks, I'm beyond excited about this. It looks like I'm going to have my first celery seed ever. Yay! Oh, that's so brilliant. A few little bits and bobs left in the cold frame to sort out. All the brassicas. I am going to pot them on. Give them bigger pots, because they're not going to go out into the ground for about another 6 to 8 weeks, so they'll all get potted on. Have no fear, I'm like this every year and they work out fine. Loads more brassicas in the front there, and then you can see, hopefully you can see trays and trays of squash. They're all looking a bit pale. They really, really need to go in, like now. So that's why I have to get on top of things with the wood, which I'll chat about in a sec. And then finally, in the far end of the cold frame, I'll open the top so you can see. These are all the Coco de Paimpol. Really lovely. A couple of non-germinators. Oh, actually one is trying to poke its head up. These will be quite happy to sit in their little pots for another few days. So I really am at that time of year, and with my time where I'm having to prioritise, these guys will be happy. And as I say, look, just swinging back round to some of the squash. And the squash is less happy, so they're my next priority. Which means, enough digressing, Vivi, next some time to start on the deck project. This is definitely happening, and I'm sure everyone's thinking, for goodness sakes, Vivi, you've been talking about this for months. But I've got a couple of last little commitments I need to sort of get out of the way in the next 48 hours. Then I'll be down here digging this space out, laying the first planks, working my way backwards, and then working myself up to having a fence, and then all the space will be free for plants. This is going to be so bright because of the sunshine. Look how bright it is. Once that wood's gone, it's going to be Squash City. So over the next week or so, priority is I'm going to be getting this lot dug out and sorted. Then, because I'm going to be away for, I'm going to be away shortly, the plan is in the next couple of weeks that fence and deck get sorted, the remaining plants get put into the soil. That means everything's planted, and then we just get to the stage of the year where it's all about tending. And then I can finally sort out my little beach hut, which needs top coats of paint because it's still just wearing its primer. I can get all my junk from the side sorted out. I'm actually going to fit some extra shelves inside, some shelves, hooks, bits and bobs, just to make storage even easier. Once the deck area is etc. is sorted. I'm going to have space for some pots, herbs and things. These were a little bit disappointing. These were the geraniums I started from seed. They were looking really good. I brought them down to the plot last week, and I don't know if it was the heat or quite what, or maybe someone came along and sprayed them, I don't know, but they are very, very sickly, which is such a shame because I was so excited to grow some from seed. But I've got a couple at home as backup, so hopefully all will not be lost. So, where are you guys? There you are. Just gonna step into the shed a sec, out of the wind. Oh. So, it's nearly there in terms of the planting, sowing, what have you. I love this time of year when you really can see the possibility for the joy and the food and the hours of pleasure to come. It's just great. And apart from, you know, I've got the fence to do, I've got the shed to paint, but that's just fun stuff. The main thing is, apart from the squash, which will be this week, everything's planted. So from here on in, it's all about those joyous afternoons of tying the tomatoes in, pinching them out, doing a bit of weeding here and there, a bit of watering sometimes. But it's that beautiful time of year where now I kind of turn this over to Mother Nature now. It's like, okay, you guys have got away, carry on, do your own thing. I'll sit and wait, and when you're ready, I'll pick your yumminess and eat it. So I hope you guys are all on track and on top of things with your gardens at the beginning of June. I so hope that you guys weren't battered over the last couple of days with the winds and rain, and hope all your little plants survived. But for now, I shall say cheerio. I've got some weeding to do, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.